It all began on the 3rd of March 1960. The decision on the operation was taken at the highest level. Participating in the meeting, Prime Minister Ben-Gurion, Chief of Staff Chaim Laskov, Head of Operations Yitzhak Rabin, Southern Commander Yoffe, Professor of Archaeology Yigael Yadin, Hebrew University Aviram. Operation's goal: complete archaeological survey of the canyons between Ein Gedi and Metzada. Decision: the operation will take place from the 23rd of March 60, following an air and photo survey of the area, under the protection of Tzahal and the participation of Sayeret Matkal, archaeological students, volunteers, photographers team, 4 leading Israeli archaeologists. The operation will be kept secret until its termination due to the border proximity. On the 21st of March in the evening, my telephone rings. Nahum, tomorrow morning at 5, we are leaving as photographers with a Judean desert archaeological expedition. Be ready with supplies for 2 weeks. Next morning, we are on our way to Beersheba. We park the car and join the group being briefed. It seems that the research area has been defined. Men and supplies board the jeep and command cars. Heavy rain pours for the first 2 hours. The sand in this area contains kaolin. When wet, it becomes extremely slippery. Even though we travel very slowly, some of the cars slip and delay the convoy. The direction is north, to an area from Masada to Ein Gedi and the frontier. From the aerial photos, it was very easy to determine Bar Kokhba's fighters' hideouts. The Romans used to surround their camps with rectangular or square stone walls. When found on both sides of the canyon, they indicated hideouts in its caverns. After a long drive on the slippery sand, we reach our destination, Yigael Yadin's camp. We receive some sandwiches and water. Already very tired, we go to sleep in the small tents. I will be its only occupant for the next 2 weeks. Suddenly, I hear a scream, followed by another one from a different direction. Somebody shouts, "Scorpions! Scorpions!" Everybody jumps out. It seems the camp was erected on an area used by yellow scorpions for their annual meeting. Within minutes, everybody climbs to the vehicles. Tonight, we'll sleep on them. A thought goes through my mind. Karl May, Winnetou and Old Shatterhand, the famous German writer with his incredible imagination, who never saw an Indian but wrote numerous books about them and others. Karl May, my preferred childhood writer. I clearly remember that in one of his stories, the Indians encircle their tents with a sisal rope. When snakes or scorpions encounter the rope, they immediately turn around. I go to the supply vehicle, find a sisal rope, encircle my tent with it, and go to sleep. Karl May knew what he was talking about. I was the only one who slept soundly that night and the following ones. Next morning, we begin unloading the supplies and preparing it. Rope ladders are being made under the supervision of the Navy men. Army surveillance is already in its posts. We take our jeep and radio transmitter. The direction is Wadi Hever. Our task is to document every stage of the archaeological search. The researchers were told not to begin any exposure before we get there. Fantastic. We will be present during every single discovery. The first attempt to reach the cave is made. The equipment is minimal. There are no helmets or any other professional climbing tools. Everything is being improvised. Unnecessary risks are taken. Has anything changed since? The activity is being watched and directed by radio from across the canyon. The next section shows some of the difficulties faced on the way to the caves, climbing and walking on the brittle and crumbling rock, in addition to carrying the excavation lighting and photographic tools, is difficult and dangerous. Finally, the team reaches the cave. It is 150 meters long, composed of 4 areas: an entrance, passages to a big hole followed by 2 more holes. From the 3rd hole we find a very narrow passage. One has to crawl while pushing the equipment in front to get through. It leads to a big 4 on 4 meters alcove. In it we find straw bags filled with human skulls and bones, the first sign of life. But whose? Bar Kochva's fighters? The bones were probably gathered here to be properly buried when possible. The illumination is provided by lanterns and handheld kerosene lamps. Every step raises clouds of dust. We take a break from time to time and go to the entrance of the cave for some fresh air. There too it's dust all over. Meanwhile, there are no significant findings. Southern Command General comes up with the idea of using a mine detector. His idea is accepted. The mine detector goes into action. Eureka! The same day a straw basket is found in the large first hole. We are immediately called in order to document in film and still photographs the revealing of the objects found. Yigael Yadin carefully pulls out the objects one by one. He cleans from them the dust accumulated during 2,000 years. It's a real treasure, a rare collection of bronze and copper objects. But they are not Jewish objects. I stop for a moment, look around me and realize it is a unique experience. My people, the ultimate freedom fighters, standing against the forces of the world's largest and strongest power. They already know what are the odds, but still continue, determined, tenacious, to fight their enemies as much as possible until the last minute. They also have some success. Emerging from the caves and the hideouts, they engage the enemies in short battles and ambushes, defeat them and take a booty: idols, worship tools, incense pans, oil and water jugs and bowls. They disfigure any deity signs. I stand there tremendously excited. An enormous privilege has fallen upon me to participate in this event. In direct continuation to life 2,000 years ago, I feel that they physically touch me. On Sunday, the 3rd of April, we have light in the caves. Suddenly, I hear a shout, "A parchment! A parchment! I have found a piece of parchment!" We all run towards the red-headed soldier. Holding in his hand a torn parchment, he reads from it loudly, "Adonai miyagur be'oalecha mishkan behar kodshecha." I know it by heart. It's from Tehillim chapter 16, he says, and continues reciting the missing part. Holech tamim upoel tzedek vedover emet bilvavo. Amazing. And we caught him on film. 2 hours later, Another discovery. This time between two rocks, a big goat leather bag is found. In it are various objects, a beautiful glass plate, woolen bulbs, a spindle, a ping-pong racket. A ping-pong racket? Is it possible? When opened, a mirror appears. From the bottom of the bag comes out a bundle of papyruses tied by a string. In between them are some inscribed wooden plates. Curiosity is sky high. What is written in those papyruses? And so we went on day after day, climbing to the caves, a 200-meter deep gorge waiting below and a cliff above us. We took pictures and films again and again. All findings were packed and sent to Jerusalem. On April the 6th, we went back to Jerusalem. Our curiosity was finally rewarded when on May the 11th, all heads of the expedition gathered at President Yitzhak Ben Zvi home. One by one, they went up on the podium showing and describing their findings. Their vast number and importance has turned the expedition to be the most successful ever done in Israel. The last one on the podium is Professor Yadin, holding in his hand one of the papyruses entitled "In the Third Year of Israel's Redemption by Shimon ben Kosba, President of Israel." He turned to the President Ben Zvi and said, "His Excellency, President of the State of Israel, I am proud to present you with the last letters written by the President of Israel 2,000 years ago." The crowd, engulfed with an immense sense of excitement, stood up and with teary eyes clapped his hands. For Israel at the 60s, a young bat mitzvah aged country, this was a national event without comparison. The next day, all the newspapers appeared with the following large headlines: President Bar Kokhba's letters revealed. Finally, when I think of Bar Kokhba's revolt, which led to the beginning of the diaspora in Rome, I recall a moving event that took place on Israel's independence declaration. On May 1948, the local Jewish community members, with its youth movements, held a march next to the Arch of Titus, which is decorated with carvings depicting the captives of Judah marching to Rome with their symbol, the menorah. This time the march went in the opposite direction, the right direction, Israel's direction.
ותחת שער טיטוס בצל העתיקות תפרחנה נשיקות, מה יש עוד לחכות? אוי טיטוס, טיטוס, לו אתה ראית למי טריומף, למי שירי הלל, על יד השער שאתה בנית, זוג מאוהב מארץ ישראל. על יד השער שכבוד האימפרטור אז בנית, זוג חיילים דווקא מארץ ישראל. אוי טיטוס, טיטוס, לו אתה ראית למי טריומף, למי שירי הלל, על יד השער שאתה בנית, זוג מאוהב מארץ ישראל. על יד השער שכבוד האימפרטור אז בנית, זוג חיילים דווקא מארץ ישראל.